Paul stands trial before the Sanhedrin, the supreme religious court of ancient Jerusalem. He is surrounded by a hostile council that holds total power over his fate. No sooner does he declare his innocence than the presiding high priest orders the guards to strike him across the mouth. It is an explicitly illegal order, indicating that the court operates outside its own stated rules. This diagram illustrates the logical vacuum Paul is caught in. If he submits to the trial, a corrupt judge legally condemns him. If he violently resists, the surrounding mob kills him on the spot. Yet Paul walks out of this room alive. He navigates this impossible scenario by identifying the specific moral and tactical levers that can dismantle his opposition. Surviving a rigged system necessitates the clarity to identify its internal fractures and turn them against the structure itself. The defense begins with a precise opening statement. Paul asserts that he has lived in all good conscience before God, a claim that forces the council to find a legal error in his conduct rather than his character. When the physical strike lands, Paul retaliates. He calls the judge a whited wall, a hypocrite attempting to enforce the law while actively breaking it. But the bystanders immediately warn him that the man he just insulted is the high priest. Instantly, Paul executes a tactical pivot. He issues a formal apology, citing the specific religious law against speaking evil of rulers. By apologizing, Paul makes a legal distinction. He submits to the legitimate office of the high priest while still exposing the individual man's abuse of power. Maintaining an uncompromisingly pure conscience secures the moral high ground. It allows a defendant to speak boldly against corruption without handing their opponents a legal pretext to condemn them. Scanning the room, Paul realizes his environment. The unified court is actually a fragile coalition held together by mutual hatred. This conceptual breakdown maps the deep ideological fault line splitting the room. On one side are the Pharisees, who strictly adhere to a belief in the spiritual realm and the resurrection. On the other side sit the Sadducees, who reject both concepts. Paul drops a theological grenade. He identifies himself solely as a Pharisee, declaring that he is on trial specifically for the hope of the resurrection. The coalition shatters. The Pharisees abandon the prosecution and turn against the Sadducees to defend Paul and their own doctrine. The infighting escalates into extreme physical violence. To prevent Paul from being torn to pieces in the ensuing mob riot, the observing Roman commander orders his troops to physically drag him out. Introducing a highly targeted wedge issue forces a unified opposition to fight each other, neutralizing their ability to attack their intended target. Blocked by the lethal system, 40 men escalate the threat. They form a vigilante hit squad, taking a blood oath to starve themselves until they successfully assassinate Paul in an ambush. The plot leaks. Paul's young nephew uncovers the conspiracy, enters the Roman barracks, and delivers the intelligence directly to his uncle. Paul works the chain of command. He routes his nephew upward, ensuring the intelligence reaches the highest local authority, Roman Chief Captain Claudius Lysias. Lysias faces a significant political and legal liability. If a documented Roman citizen is assassinated under his watch, the failure falls directly on him. This data visualization contrasts the scale of the threat against the asymmetric force of the Roman response. To counter 40 men with daggers, Lysias deploys a military convoy of 200 soldiers, 200 spearmen, and 70 cavalry to move a single prisoner. Under the cover of night, this force extracts Paul out of the threat zone. They move him to the fortified coastal city of Caesarea, placing him under the direct jurisdiction of Governor Felix. Surviving localized vigilante violence involves identifying a superior jurisdictional authority and leveraging it to outscale the threat. Paul is now secure within Herod's judgment hall. Protected by the Roman imperial machine, his enemy's plot has been dismantled. Before the extraction, Christ appeared to Paul and promised that he would survive Jerusalem to testify in Rome. That promise has now been structurally guaranteed by the Roman military. A good conscience is an anchor. It eliminates internal guilt, enabling the clarity to act decisively under intense fire. True moral integrity grants a person the clarity to master their environment. It allows them to recognize ideological fractures, utilize systems of authority, and act shrewdly against threats without compromising their own soul.